at ptarts.com, continuing my series on this wonderful book, Tough-Minded Leadership. So I'm an artist. This is my studio in Brighton. There's a painting there that I'm working on. I've done with acrylics first, a couple of days in, a commissioned portrait, little bits and bobs talking about behind me, a big painting there of Madonna, as in the Madonna child. So I want to use some quotes, carry on with my discussions around leadership and being an artist. So the first point I'm going to talk about is broad perspective. So leaders' interests and activities may range globally. Truly broad gauge leaders read widely and have their own personal development program. They believe that a broad and eclectic fund of knowledge makes for not only a better generalist, but also a better specialist. They see the broad picture, look beyond their own speciality or function to think in terms of the customers, the ultimate reason for their jobs. I've wear two different pairs of glasses. One pair, there's another pair, because I'm strange, but it's partly because of my painting habits. So this broad perspective, again, like this is all about like leading a group of people, yeah? So what we're doing internally is leading this group of people, which is all part of ourselves, all of those, the ones that doesn't feel like doing it today, wants to do something different, thinks, etc., etc., the one that argues with yourself, the one that runs yourself down, all of those different aspects of our personality. So like, they're almost like different people. So it's like leading at the core, having these like principles and thinking about what these principles are. So like if I'm like an artist and all I talk about with everybody is my art and painting and that's it, you know, and then I start to base everything that I believe in around what I do all the time, then one, I'll probably be even more boring than I am already. And two, it means that your work starts to go inwards. So it becomes inwards and there's no longer going outwards. And it's this broad perspective comes from sort of dialoguing, taking interest in other people's activities, etc. But not at the expense of your own practice, which can happen, but so that it feeds your own practice, you know, how people's mindset and the way that they approach their projects in whatever they do will become like an assist for you and your people at the moment being you. So your people say, it's your people, the one that gets fed up, that needs encouragement, etc., etc., etc. You can find that through different fields. So that's like my immediate interpretation of what is a large quote. And so the next one is faith in self and others. Leaders believe we are the sum of our strengths and that the only real things to search for and believe in are the strengths of ourselves and others. They assume there is positive evidence of strength that are still unseen. Exactly. So all these parts of ourselves that we initially say, oh, if only I wasn't like this, if only I wasn't like that, then everything would be all right. Actually, within those areas of our life, there are strengths. There are things to be developed. There's growth. There's room for encouragement. So it's all strengths, even as if it seems like weaknesses. I know I've shown some people about painting, for example, and I've been teaching the people about painting, and they go to the canvas and they're immediately critical when they start painting. Now, what they need to do is just paint. The critical part of themselves is really useful later on, but it isn't useful while you're actually doing the painting. But it is like there is a valid place from it, rather than saying, oh, I shouldn't be so critical. So no, there's a time and place for that aspect of your nature to come into play. So it's always good to start with a blank canvas. Start with a blank canvas and then build on this blank canvas, build your painting of life on it. So yes, I'm talking about painting because that's what I do, but not wishing to seem boring. So that these leadership qualities we can employ in any project we're doing. So the next one, vision. Vision provides the basic energy, lift and stretch for pulling the organization toward the future. Positive people will intuitively respond to a leader's positive dreams. Okay, so this is back. I've mentioned it in a few other videos and talked about it when we're sort of looking at selling our online, etc. It's having this vision, long-term picture of a few years ahead, how you want things to look. The thing to do is not to get disheartened if you don't feel like you're making progress towards that, but keep returning to that and say, oh yes, well, it was going to be a struggle and I didn't know what the struggle was going to be. This is the struggle. Actually staying focused on what I'm doing, whatever it is. All these leadership points that I've been talking about will help. So it is like a blank canvas. It's going to become a painting, isn't it? Not wishing to be boring again. So vision for the future is really important and useful to remember. So positive thinking, that leads on really nicely, doesn't it? So positive thinking. Leaders believe negativism is never justified. They know that there are plus and minuses elements in many situations, but the minus areas can be made into pluses. So that's like the positive thinking is like being optimist. It's like exactly what I was saying, really, that all of your negative aspects have like a purpose and a usefulness. They're not to be dismissed, not to put into the cupboard, not to be sort of hidden away from, not to be shied from. And so therefore, positive thinking is very important. We keep coming back, don't we, to mindset. Positive thinking is one of those. So the next one, and this is on page 31, desire to learn. Leaders cultivate a curiosity for new dimensions of knowledge and resist efforts to predicate plans on past or present knowledge only. They do not confuse wit or intelligence with wisdom, and they strive steadily for greater wisdom. They are lifelong learners. They cultivate a perpetual sense of wonder. So as an artist, as a painter, this is for all of us, isn't it? Sometimes it's really hard to keep hold of that, but isn't it amazing that you can even make or do art tour is an extraordinary thing in itself. So, the wonder, fortunately for us, is definitely there, but there are times, aren't there, where you just look at everything you've done and it feels dreadful. But it's actually you that feels dreadful. And that's an important thing to hold on to, not to. Time is so important in that element. So, enjoyment of work. So we talked about enjoyment of life on the previous video. Enjoyment of work. Leaders know that life without work is a shortcut to deterioration. That hard positive work is one of life's great renewing agents. They relish feelings of accomplishment. They are literally hungry for new obstacles, difficulties, and strength-building confrontations. Well, it's a tricky one, isn't it? But I think as artists, if you're an artist, or musicians, or any creative dancers, etc., any creative pursuit has these obstacles and difficulties inherent in the creation of meaningful work. None of them come from none of it is plain sailing, isn't it? So, please don't worry about that point too much, because you're actually doing it even just by watching this video, of course, by making work to create value for other people. So there we have it for this installment. 6 more points. I can't recommend the book. This is just a couple of pages out of the book. But the thing is, it's really helping me to talk about it, to build a foundation into my life. So it's like a way of internalizing. So for you, if you're building websites, if you're making social engagement, to build your media company that's going to be the ground swell of your artwork and getting yourself out there, then these leadership qualities are really, really helpful in beginning to sort of craft a mindset which is ready to sustain a long-term art practice. So thank you very much once again for listening. Please subscribe if you haven't to my YouTube channel, and have a look at my blog, etc. I try and recreate some of this in written form, a bit more. Well, it's just different. If you like reading, you don't like looking at my face. That's fair enough. I have the same problem looking at my face. Right, so see you soon.